Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Glad you could join me today. Man, I tell you what, it is cold today. So I live in Arizona, as you've heard me mention in previous videos. And I'm in a part of Arizona that is really hot in the summertime. So it's honestly really only about 45 degrees outside. And it's great, it's nice to have cooler weather. But for those of us who live in really hot temperatures in the summer, we get kind of wimpy in the winter time when it gets so cold. So as you can see, I'm wearing my trusty hoodie here, keeping myself warm. And I've got a book review for you today. Now this one's a little bit different because I'm also going to review the companion movie for the book. So it's a little bit of a twist. I hope you enjoy it. Let's get right to it. Murder on the Orient Express is a mystery novel written by Agatha Christie, and this book brought back so many fond memories. When I was a kid, I used to go over to my grandmother's house and I'd always be borrowing books from her. The majority of the books that she had that I would borrow from her were Agatha Christie novels. I read so many of those novels, I just ate them up. And as you know, I really gravitate more toward fantasy, but I love a good mystery. And so this brought back a lot of fond memories. I used to read books about this famous older lady named Jane Marple who solved mysteries. The famous Belgian sleuth Hercule Poirot who put his little gray cells to the task to solve murders. And Tommy and Tuppence Beresford, a quirky and sweet couple who just happened to get wrapped up in solving crimes. I just had so much fun with those books, and so this brought back fond memories for me of those times I would be over at my grandmother's house and say, "Hey, Grandma, can I borrow another book?" So yeah, I was one of those kids, and I definitely loved my books. And she didn't mind at all, of course. She wanted to encourage me to read. So let's get right back into it. Murder on the Orient Express follows the famous Belgian sleuth, Hercule Poirot. And he has just gotten finished with a big case to much success and fanfare. And he is ready to go on holiday, or vacation if you're thinking holiday is the Christmas holidays. In this case, it's not. He's getting ready to go on vacation, take some time off, go to some other countries, and just enjoy seeing the sights and relaxing. And he gets an urgent telegram that has requested his presence on another case ASAP. So he has to cut his holiday short, and he books a ticket of passage at the last minute for the Orient Express. And as you can imagine, while he's on the Orient Express, he encounters a whole wide variety of unique and eccentric, quirky characters. And he fits right in because he's equally as eccentric and quirky. And as he's getting to know these different people, he gets a request for protection from somebody, and of course he declines it because he says, I don't protect people, I solve crimes. You know, the end of discussion. I'm not a bodyguard. So he encounters that person, he encounters other people on the train, and you would think that all of the people on the train are there just by coincidence and just going about their day, going from one point to another to get to their next destination. But then a murder happens, and all of a sudden things begin to unravel, and it begins to become clear that the people on the train are not all there by coincidence like he thought, but who committed the murder. And so reluctantly, Hercule Poirot agrees to take the case and solve the murder. because it just so happens that the train is at a standstill anyway because it's gotten caught in a snowbank. So they're stuck. He's got nothing better to do. Might as well help these poor people figure out who murdered this person. Just a really fantastic story, really engaging. It's an easy read. So if you're looking for something that's not 1,000 pages and really in-depth content, this is a great book for you to pick up. The ending was kind of weird. I won't deny that. It was kind of weird. It was an ending, but it kind of left you hanging, and it almost left it up to you to come up with the solution. They kind of hinted at a solution, what they were going to do, but it didn't really come straight out and say it. So I thought it was well done, though, and I think the ending that most readers would come up with, the solution to what should happen, is pretty logical. Most people would come to the same conclusion. The motives behind the murder made sense, and I think if you read this book, you'll agree that the person who was murdered, not that they should have been murdered, but there were understandable reasons for why it happened. So take note, I'm not condoning murder, I'm just saying there were some good reasons why it happened. You really understand the motives behind the killer, but even still, there were other ways that they could have gone about it. So I'll leave it at that. I don't want to spoil too much. You need to read the book to find out. But I love the character development in Agatha Christie's novels, and Murder on the Orient Express is no different. Just a fascinating look into the human psyche and the way different people react to different things, the way different people communicate with each other, and the masks that they wear. That was really prominent in this book, I thought. When it came to the passengers on the train, everyone had different masks, metaphorically speaking, that they were wearing. So, really, really good book. Now, the movie. I watched the movie put out in 2017. I believe Kenneth Branagh was the director. He also starred in the lead role as Hercule Poirot. And it was quite a bit different than the book. Not in any major areas, though. The basic plot was still there. The end result, when you find out who done it, was still there. It was still the same pretty much. But there were little idiosyncrasies in the movie that were not there in the book. They took two characters that were in the book and combined them into one character in the movie. There was one character who was a different nationality in the book than they actually ended up being in the movie. And those are just little things, not something to really nitpick over, but it did kind of stick out to me. The solution, after finding out who the murderer was, the solution was kind of given to you at the end of the movie, whereas if you remember, I mentioned it wasn't really a solid solution in the book, but it was the logical conclusion that I think most readers would come to, and it was very clearly portrayed in the book that was the direction they were going. So I really enjoyed the way that they ended the movie. There were a few scenes that were added. The beginning of the book, as you remember me saying, had Hercule Poirot just getting off a case before he got on the train, and this movie elaborated on what that case might have been. So that wasn't a bad thing. I thought it was kind of cool, and there was one extra scene in the movie where this one guy claimed to have done it, but that was nowhere in the book. And most of the book took place on the train, whereas there were good chunks of the movie where they got on and off the train, and scenes that took place in the book actually took place off the train in the movie, as opposed to the way the book handled it. So little nitpicky things here or there, but overall it wasn't a big deal. I would say the thing that I didn't like so much about the movie was the way they handled Poirot's character. In the books, he's definitely a genius crime solver. He's definitely eccentric, but in a reserved way. In the movie, he was much more flamboyant, much more egotistical and arrogant in some ways, in ways that he's not really portrayed in the books. You know, people will say, you're a genius, Poirot. How did you come up with that? And he's kind of modest, and he'll say, "Oh, wow, yeah, thank you. I just put the clues together, and the solution presents itself." But he's not quite so modest in the movie, so that I kind of didn't like. They added a lot of dramatic effect, which I can kind of understand. For a movie, you want to make it a little bit more eye-catching and action-packed. So there was a lot of dramatic effect in the movie that maybe needed to be there, maybe didn't. I don't know. I'll let you be the judge if you ever see it. One thing that I just laughed out loud at during the movie was Poirot's mustache shield. So if you've ever seen pictures of Hercule Poirot, he's always got this elaborately groomed and curled mustache. And, you know, he's always fiddling with it, making sure it's in tip-top shape. You know, the curls are still where they need to be. It's kind of one of his little quirks. In the movie, he wears a mustache shield at night. It's this thing that fits over his mustache to keep it nice and groomed while he's sleeping, so none of the hairs get out of place. I'm looking at this thing and I'm going, what in the world is this? I mean, it's nowhere in the book, obviously, but I just thought it was funny. It's not a bad thing. It was just like, it was weird. I don't know. I still don't know what I think about it, but it was funny nonetheless. So, yeah, great movie. I definitely recommend you see it at least once. But please read the book first. The book is really, really fun as well. So let me know in the comments what you thought of this review. Click a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel and you sign up for notifications so you don't miss more of my videos in the future. Share with your friends so they see my content too. And most importantly, make sure that you are reading more books. I'll talk to you in the next video. Bye.